Plastic is pervasive in our lives, now in everything, everywhere, all at once. But plastic's most sinister avatar is the one that's barely visible: microplastics. They are less than 5 millimeter in size, the size of 2 grains of sand or even less. But where do microplastics come from? One, of course, is all the plastic you see around you that breaks down into small particles. Other sources of microplastics are all around us: road markings, tires, marine equipment, synthetic clothing. Microplastics are also manufactured for making plastic pellets and personal care products. There's growing evidence that this tiny particle is a bigger problem than we might think. It's an emerging pollutant. Now for some stats that might seem unsettling but will help you visualize this problem. At least 14 million tons of plastic end up in the ocean every year. That's almost equal to 1,400 Eiffel Towers. It breaks into microplastics that marine life then ingests. Research found that the fish off the coast of Kerala and the fish in river Kaveri both contained microplastics. Once in the food chain, it makes its way into our bodies. But it's not just fish eaters who need to worry. Our sugar, honey, and beer have the same problem. A study found microplastic in sea salt produced in Gujarat. A sample of 200 grams showed 46 to 115 microplastic particles. With all this microplastic exposure, some estimates say that every week you may be inhaling plastic that's equal to an entire credit card. If these weren't enough, researchers even found microplastic in the placenta of newborn babies. While studies show that microplastics can cause neurotoxicity, immune system disruption, and other health hazards in humans, the full extent of toxic effects on humans and animals remains unknown. There are over 10,000 unique chemicals used to make plastic of different kinds. A quarter of them are of potential concern to human health. So if microplastics come from plastics, can't these ingredient chemicals tell us something about the impacts?
And that's exactly where, the discussions are not really happening around what kind of chemicals are being used, what would be the long-term effects of these chemicals on the human health and on the environment.
India does not have a policy on microplastics yet. But in July 2022, the government announced a ban on certain single-use plastic items such as plates, cups, and thermocol. India's plastic waste management rule was also amended in 2021 to increase the permitted thickness of plastic carry bags. The thinner the bag, the higher the probability of its breakdown into microplastics. But with the lack of alternatives to plastic and poor implementation of rules, these banned items still float in the market. In 2022, UN member states including India committed to develop a legally binding agreement by 2024 to end plastic pollution. The resolution addressed the full life cycle of plastic, including its production, design, and disposal.
If the industry is regulated, we may not have this issue of microplastics. So what started off as a treaty to kind of regulate or minimize the amount of microplastics is now kind of evolved into a treaty that is now discussing about the entire life cycle of plastic.
While we wait for this to happen, there is something we can do now.
So it is very important that we actually start talking about microplastics in our country as well, if we have to safeguard the human health of our citizens.